Over to the left, Cease.
Kevin, can you assess your running game, particularly offensive line last week, and where you go moving forward?
Yeah, we'll start the game this week with the same lineup. I think and we had some guys that, Carson Green played a lot for us. As a young guy, we've had some injuries in there that we've talked about. It's game 12, so to try to keep some consistency with what we're doing. We're really playing, really 6-7 guys instead of 10 or 12 like we did early in the year. But some guys have been beat up, and what you have to do is as a coach is decide, is a healthy guy that's gone through practice, give you the best chance to be successful or more experience, and it depends on the injury. So we're not just shuttling guys in and out at this time of year. We haven't done that in weeks. Maybe when we were ahead by 40 points a couple weeks ago, but you've seen some pretty much the same 6 or 7 guys in there that have been a little bit different than maybe 4 weeks ago, just because of injuries. And we want to be able to run it more. I think you look at the end of the game and what we did was extremely conservative, but we're able to run the clock and eliminate their timeouts and make it a touchdown game. And I think everybody wants to be aggressive, and I said it after the game. I made that decision, and because Nick at this point doesn't have as much game experience as Kellen, and so being on the road and being ahead and not putting the ball in his hands to win the game, but trying to put it in the hands of our experienced players, Keith Ford and Travion Williams, and understanding what's at stake there and having confidence to be able to take that time off the clock and score and finish the game, I think built some confidence, even though we weren't able to score a touchdown, which I'm not going to go into that right now after watching some things. I got to be careful. So, but I think you do get some confidence out of that with how we finish the game.
Down front, Brent.
You're now three seasons into it. How would you assess the job John Chavis has done for you as coordinator?
I think you look. Saturday was interesting. I think you saw our defense, both teams are going up and down the field the first half. It was going to turn into that type of football game. And the adjustments that were made, at the end of the second quarter, and then the communication at halftime to the results for the second half, I think that says a lot about what kind of coaching staff we have on defense, and we've grown a lot. We lost one of our better players early in the year, and it's Derek Tucker. People talk about this, that, and developing players. I don't think there's a bigger development story than that right now. From a guy who, when you lose a player at that position, to a guy who had arthroscopic surgery, missed all of camp, and then has grown with other people. And so, it takes some time to get some things done like that, but certainly we have improved.
To the right, Gabe, and then to the back, Darryl.
Back to Nick, Coach. How pleased have you been with him here over the last couple of weeks, and how big a key is it for Nick Starkel to have a big night against a team that's pretty good at stopping the run? Well,
they're pretty good at stopping the pass too. So they're a pretty good defense, and they've got guys, and so it's a same story every week in this league. You've got to be a team that. And Gabe, I've said this. Everybody, it's either we talk more about Kellen and we talk more about Nick. our success is not based just on them. Our success has been based on the ability of our offensive line to block people. I know this is going to sound really simple, which we've been inconsistent in doing. And also the ability of our guys on the perimeter to make plays. And the games where we've made plays, I think not only have we been successful, we've won on the perimeter just because of, you know, the loaded boxes and things like that. So it's not just the quarterback. And guys on the perimeter have had to make plays, and they've made them. And, you know, we've had big plays and competitive plays were made the other night. And when we haven't made those competitive plays, you know, we haven't been successful. So you know, it's more than just the quarterback. It's the other 10 guys giving him a chance to be successful with either protection, with taking pressure off of him by running the ball, and then making competitive plays against man-to-man coverage, which we're seeing a bunch of.
That was a back, Darryl, then Ben.
Coach, you feel like there'll be a time when every player will be wrapped in bubble wrap just to protect them? I'm sorry. Can you talk about targeting and your guys that were, I guess, kicked out of the game for targeting? Will they be eligible this week, and how much? I mean, does that carry over? Is there like if they were ejected in the second half, do they have to miss the first half of the next game?
Yes. You're really trying to get me in trouble today, aren't you? Get me a fine in this game.
No, sir. Not trying to get you in trouble.
No, it's, you know, it's about player safety. All right. So I think when the rule changed to being able to review, you know, the call, and or in one of our situations where it was not called on the field, it was called from the booth after watching it. And so, you know, I'm never going to back away from protecting player safety, because, you know, things have happened. We all know what's going on with concussions and concussion protocol. But so many times, I'll say this though, things look a lot different in slow motion than they do in real time, and both positively and negatively when it comes to that. But you know, we lost a player in the first half. He's done for the game. You lose a player in the second half. He's done for the first half of the next game. So that's how it works. And you know, that's a severe penalty. But in some situations, if it's a close call, it's one thing. But you see some other hits out there that's you know, that penalty is there for a reason. And I think overall it's changed a lot of things. It's changed the approach in tackling. It's changed the approach in special teams, which is what happened the other day, where you used to see a lot of wicked shots when guys reversed field or change of possession that were very, very dangerous. And so where you are, you know, we teach our guys the strike zone, basically, is that's the aiming point. It's, you know, armpit to knee level, and you get up above that, it's going to get called every time, I mean, no matter what happens. And you know, but the difficult time that the players have is that area changes, and it could change within a couple feet of the contact, and that's when you have the issues that maybe we had. You know, it's you look at Fuller's situation, it's a back block, it's a shoulder, but you know, he comes up through the helmet. That's going to get called every time.
Second row, Ben, and then Olin.
Kevin, if you had to right here,
The right,
Okay.
right. Sorry.
if you had to pinpoint just one of the reasons why y'all haven't been able to beat LSU in your time here, what would that main reason be?
I don't know. There's been, every game's different, and so you know, if you gave one reason why, it would be different in a different game. You know, there's a lot of different players who played there. I think the bottom line is we haven't won, and you know, and there have been different reasons for every one of those. So there's not going to be a single reason to point out for each one of those games. I think, just looking back on it, there's been different reasons for each time. But, it's the results that matter.
How much differently do you think your tenure might be viewed here had you won a couple of those games against LSU?
I don't know. I don't think it'd probably be different if I won a couple games against other people too. So it doesn't come down to one team or I think it's about everything, and I told you before, in this point of the season, you don't start worrying about things like that. What you do is you got games to play, and you prepare to win football games. You reflect after the season's over.
Stay on the second row, Olin, on the right.
Kevin, do you think you've been treated fairly here at A&M, and do you think the criticism and scrutiny that you've got has been fair?
What criticism and scrutiny?
Well, I think the scrutiny. We all know about your job status being uncertain. The criticism that 8 wins aren't enough. That y'all tend to fade in November. Among other things, I can go on.
Right. I just want to make sure that what not a broad general statement, and I don't live my life in broad general statements. I came here to Texas A&M to win football games, and so what we do and how we've done it has been the right way. It will continue to be the right way, and just like the question beforehand, I'm in the process right now of working on winning this week. And I think what this team has done has been able to focus on what's important in this building. As a coach or as a player, in this time, you can't worry about what people say. I think what you can worry about is the response of your team, the response of the people in this building, and the trust level in there and how they perform. And that's where my focus is right now.
Go front left, Travis, and then Brent down front.
Hey, Coach, I didn't know if there's any stats update on Justin Dunning and kind of what he's meant to the team this year as well.
Yeah, it was, Justin had a couple 3 good weeks. You saw him starting to play more and rotate more in with the defensive ends, and was giving some guys gave us some great minutes. I know that he tweaked it, and he was really worried, and we were worried for him. I mean, anytime you've been through what that young man's been through, you don't, and he starts grabbing his knee. It's you just get sick. But just talking to him and looking at him when we walked back out at halftime, man, he was standing there, and last guy was coming out, and he said, "No, I'm all right," and which was good, because he wouldn't have said that if it was the other way. So it's not major, because of those things. He's not done for the year. He has an opportunity to maybe play this weekend.
Down front, Brent.
And he's been fabulous as a team player and an example for everybody. He, as I told you before, I put it in his hands. I told him that I wouldn't think any less of him if he didn't play, based on what he'd been through, and gave him time to figure it out, and we're glad we did. And you just, he's been a great example to a lot of other guys on this team, based on what he's been through, his work ethic, and his positive nature, and he's been able to help us at defensive end, which is, you come here as a safety and you go from linebacker to put your hand on the ground. I think 2 days we had to work on it. I don't think he's ever been in a 3-point stance. So, he's come a long ways, and he'll continue to get better.
Down front, Brent, to the back, Daryl.
Do you anticipate being the coach here next year?
Yes.
And why is that? Have you been reassured of that?
I mean,
there's so much out there. You know how it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
especially in this day and age.
why wouldn't I?
Because a lot of us have heard otherwise.
Okay.
So I'm asking you.
I haven't heard that.
Okay. That's
To the back, Daryl. Wrap us up. I'm sorry, Suzanne.
Coach,
Go ahead, Daryl.
Can you talk about LSU's offensive attack with Darius Geis and Danny Etling?
Yeah, and Darrell Williams. So, Darius Geis is a guy that we know well from really being Leonard Fournette's backup, but had an explosive kick return a couple years ago. Really an explosive runner with great speed and power. Darrell Williams, is a bigger back that they use. They utilize a lot of shift, trade, motion, things like that to get you out-gapped, to get a guy out of a gap, change your fits. DJ Shark is got blazing speed, has been, I think he's returned a couple punts for touchdowns, has some long runs, has run by a bunch of folks. So they've got real speed on the perimeter and a big, strong offensive line. So, they've been able to, with those two backs, have been able to generate a running game that is, that's really good. And then because of their speed on the perimeter, they've been able to get behind folks. So, Matt Canada does a great job of trying to confuse guys in the back end with speed sweeps and motions to get you stretched out, to create some space for those two running backs. And then trading and motioning the tight ends to try to create different gaps and have a guy fit a wrong gap, and they've been successful doing that.
All right, Coach. Thank you.